He spent 8 years unjustly imprisoned. Returning home, he collapsed at the sight. Michael Mick Ryan never imagined that 8 years of his life would be stolen by a lie. When he finally proved his innocence and walked out of Silverwood Correctional Center, his hands shook, holding the papers that attested to the judicial error that had destroyed his family. He walked slowly down the dusty track that led to his old house on the fringe of the outback, in the rural area of Yaran Creek. His heart started to pound. In the distance, the silhouette of the small wooden shack where he had left his wife Sarah and their 4 young children was visible among the gum trees. But something was different. The roof was sagging, the paint on the walls had completely peeled off, and there was no sign of life around. As he got closer and saw 4 dirty, skinny kids standing on the veranda of the house, which was barely standing, Mick had to lean on the rotten wooden door to keep from falling. The tallest boy, who must have been 15 now, looked at him with a mixture of surprise and suspicion that cut his heart like a knife. "Dad?" murmured Lachlan, the eldest son, unable to believe his eyes. "Hello, my kids," Mick managed to say, his voice choked with emotion seeing how different the children were. Chloe, who was 7 when he was locked up, was now 15 and looked older than her age. The twins, Liam and Ethan, who were barely 3-year-old toddlers, were now 11 and looked at him as if he were a stranger. "Where's your mum?" Mick asked, noticing the children's clothes were torn and dirty and that they looked like they hadn't bathed in days. "She took off 2 years ago," Lachlan replied, with a hardness in his voice that didn't fit his age. "She left us here and never came back." Mick felt his legs go weak. 8 years unjustly locked up, and now he discovered his kids had been abandoned 2 years ago, living alone in this house that was practically falling apart. "How have you been managing?" he asked, stepping onto the veranda planks that groaned under his feet. "We manage," Chloe said, crossing her arms in a defensive gesture. "Lachlan gets some cash work in town. I look after the little ones, and we grow some veggies out the back." Mick looked at his children's thin faces and felt a mixture of pride and despair. Pride because they had survived, and despair because it should never have been necessary. "Dad, why did you leave and dump us?" asked Ethan, the youngest twin, his eyes welling up with tears. "I didn't leave, son. I was arrested for something I didn't do, but I've proven I'm innocent now, and I've come back to look after you," Mick explained, kneeling in front of the children. "Liar," Lachlan yelled, his eyes blazing with anger. "If you were innocent, you wouldn't have been locked up that long. Mum said you were a thief and that you'd never come back." The eldest son's words hit Mick like a punch to the gut. Sarah had lied to the kids, making them believe he was guilty and had abandoned them on purpose. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please hit the like button and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot who are just starting out. Continuing. "Lachlan, I know it's hard to believe, but I have the papers right here that prove my innocence," Mick said, pulling out the crumpled documents from his pocket. The real culprit confessed. "I never committed any crime. I don't want to see any papers," the boy sobbed, tears finally streaming down his dirty face. "You weren't here when Mum started drinking. You weren't here when she brought strange blokes home. You weren't here when she got sick and went thin as a stick. And you weren't here when she bolted in the early hours and only left a note saying she couldn't handle it anymore." Every word from Lachlan was like a stab to Mick's chest. He had lost 8 years of his children's lives, and now he discovered they had suffered much more than he could ever imagine. "Forgive me, son. Forgive me for not being able to prove my innocence sooner," Mick said, holding out his arms to hug the boy. "No." Lachlan took a step back. "Now you want to come back and act like you're our dad. We don't need you. We've managed to survive on our own until now." "Lachlan, please," Chloe pleaded, touching her brother's shoulder. "He's our dad." "He's nothing to us," Lachlan yelled, before running into the house. Mick stood on the veranda, watching the other 3 children who observed him with a mixture of curiosity and fear. The house around him was in a deplorable state. The floorboards were loose. There were holes in the roof where you could see the sky, and the smell of mold and damp was unbearable. "Dad, are you going to stay?" Liam asked timidly. "Yes, son, I'm staying, and I'm never leaving again," Mick promised, fighting to control his own tears. "And are you going to fix the house?" Ethan asked. "When it rains, the water pours into our room. I'll fix everything, my kids." "I'm going to look after you properly," Mick said, knowing he had no idea how he would achieve it. He had left prison with only the clothes on his back and $50 the government gave to ex-inmates. Chloe slowly approached him and touched his hand. "Dad, I remember you singing to me when I was little," she said quietly. "You used to sing that song about the little Joey." Mick felt his heart warm. At least one of his children still held good memories of him. "Sleep, little Joey, safe in my arms," he sang softly, and saw Chloe's eyes light up. "That's the one." She smiled for the first time since he had arrived. "Dad, I'm hungry," Ethan said, rubbing his tummy. "Me too," Liam agreed. Mick looked around and noticed there was no sign of food in the house. "What did you eat today?" he asked. "We haven't eaten anything yet," Chloe replied. "Lachlan was going to try and get some cashies in town today, but with you turning up, he didn't go." Desperation took hold of Mick. His children were starving, and he had nothing to give them. "Wait here," he said, pulling the $50 out of his pocket. "I'm going to Maureen's general store to buy a few things." "Dad," Chloe grabbed his arm. "Maureen won't give us credit anymore. Mum owed her a heap of money before she left." Mick sighed. $50 wouldn't last long, but at least he could buy something for the kids to eat that day. "No worries, love. I've got cash," he lied, not wanting to worry his children more. As he walked toward the small shop a few kilometers from the house, Mick tried to absorb everything he had discovered. Sarah had abandoned the children 2 years ago. That meant out of the 8 years he was imprisoned, his children spent 2 completely alone, looking after each other. Maureen's general store was the same as it was 8 years ago, with the same wooden shelves and the same worn counter. Maureen, who was now over 70, recognized him immediately. "Mick," she said, her eyes wide. "You got out of the clink?" "I did, Maureen. I proved I was innocent," he replied, trying to maintain his dignity despite the humiliating situation. She murmured, clearly distrustful. "And what do you want here?" "I need to buy food for my kids. They're doing it tough." Maureen crossed her arms. "Your ex-wife left me owing over $300. She vanished into thin air and left the bill. How do I know you won't do the same?" "Maureen, I have the cash in my hand," Mick said, showing the 2 $20 notes and a $10. "I just need some rice, sausages, and something for the kids to eat today." The woman hesitated for a moment, looking at the money. "All right, but cash only. No credit." Mick bought 2 kilograms of rice, 1 kilogram of sausages, half a kilo of mince, oil, salt, and some bananas. The money was gone, but at least the children could eat for a few days. When he got back home, he found Lachlan sitting on the doorstep, staring at the horizon with a gloomy expression. "I brought food," Mick said, showing the bag. "With what money?" Lachlan asked suspiciously. "Money I had saved," Mick lied again. "You're lying," the boy said. "No one walks out of prison with saved money." "Where'd you get the dough?" Mick sighed. It was pointless trying to deceive the eldest son. The boy had matured too quickly and could see through any lie. "It was the money they gave me when I was released," he admitted. $50. "And you blew the lot?" Lachlan's voice was filled with anger. "What about tomorrow? How are we going to eat tomorrow?" "I'll find a way, son." "A way? How?" "You don't have a job, you don't have money, you don't have anything," Lachlan exploded. "And you still expect us to believe you'll look after us?" "Lachlan, please. You don't understand." The boy stood up, fists clenched. "I had to grow up fast to look after my siblings. I had to drop out of school to work. I had to watch Chloe cry at night because she missed Mum. I had to lie to the neighbors when they asked where our parents were. And now you rock up here and expect to fix everything." His son's words hit Mick like a storm. He had never thought about what the children had to go through alone, the responsibility that had fallen on Lachlan's shoulders. "Son, I know you suffered a lot, more than any kid should suffer, but I'm here now, and I'm going to do everything to win back your trust." "Trust?" Lachlan laughed bitterly. "You want to win back our trust? Then tell me, how are you going to pay the rent? How are you going to buy food? How are you going to buy clothes for the kids who are growing? How are you going to pay the power bill that's been cut off for 6 months? Mick fell silent. He had no answer to any of those questions. "That's what I thought," Lachlan said, shaking his head. "You don't have an answer because you haven't thought about any of it. You only came here because you had nowhere else to go." "Lachlan," Chloe scolded, appearing at the door. "Don't talk to Dad like that." "Dad? What dad, Chloe?" "A dad is someone who provides, who is present, who protects. He's not our dad. He's just some bloke who turned up here." Lachlan walked down the steps and began to walk away from the house. "Where are you going?" Mick shouted. "Out bush." "It's where I go when I need to think," the boy replied without looking back. Mick wanted to run after him, but Chloe grabbed his arm. "Let him go, Dad. When he gets really angry, it's best to leave him alone for a bit." "My dear, I didn't know you were going through so much hardship," Mick said, sitting on the doorstep. "We don't want you to feel bad," Liam said, approaching timidly. "We know it wasn't your fault." Yes, it is my fault, son. I should have fought harder to get out of the clink sooner. I should have found a way to prove my innocence sooner. How did you prove you were innocent? Chloe asked, sitting beside him. Mick took a deep breath before answering. Remember Gaz? He was my best mate before I was pinched. I remember him, Chloe said. He was always coming around here. That's right. He was the one who did the break-in and framed me. He planted the stolen stuff in my ute and dobbed me in to the police. Chloe's eyes widened. But why did he do that? Because he needed dough and thought I'd never find out. But an investigator managed to find proof that he lied, and he ended up confessing. And is he in jail now? I don't know, love. When I got out, only one thing mattered. Getting back to you kids. Ethan came closer and climbed onto Mick's lap. Dad, are you going to leave again? Never again, son. Never again, Mick said, hugging the small boy who barely remembered him. Dad, Chloe said hesitantly, we don't have enough beds for everyone anymore. When Mum left, she took the mattress from your room. Mick looked around the house and noticed there really wasn't much furniture. Just an old couch in the lounge, a small table in the kitchen, and probably one bed in the kids' room. No problem, love. I can sleep on the couch. But the couch is wrecked, Liam said. It's got a spring that pokes you in the back. Mick smiled despite the difficult situation. I've slept in much worse places, son. Don't worry about it. Just then, they heard the sound of a car pulling up in front of the house. Mick stood up and saw an elegant woman, dressed in a grey suit, stepping out of an official vehicle. Good afternoon, the woman said, approaching the veranda. I'm Miss Gabby Davies, a community services officer for the council. I need to speak to the responsible adults for the children. Mick's heart raced. A CSO turning up couldn't mean anything good. I'm their father, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Are you Michael Ryan? She asked, consulting a folder she carried. Yes, I am. Were you in prison until today? I was, but I was declared innocent. I have the papers here to prove it. Miss Davies quickly examined the documents Mick handed her. I understand, but that doesn't change the fact that we've received several reports about these children living alone and in inadequate conditions. Reports from whom? Mick asked, feeling anger rise in his chest. I can't reveal the identity of the informants, but I can tell you they are people concerned about the children's welfare. Officer, I just got home. I haven't had time to improve the situation yet. I understand, Mr. Ryan, but I need to assess the current living conditions and care of the children. May I come in? Mick knew he couldn't refuse. Reluctantly, he opened the door and allowed the CSO into the house. What she saw was not encouraging. The house was in a precarious state, with leaks in the walls, windows missing panes, exposed electrical wiring, and holes in the roof. There was no running water, and the toilet was in a deplorable state. Children, Miss Davies said gently, can you show me where you sleep? Chloe led the CSO to the house's only bedroom, where there was an old mattress on the floor and some ripped blankets. All four of you sleep here? The woman asked. Yes, Chloe replied softly. And where do you wash? There's a tin tub outside, Liam said, pointing to the yard. We heat water on the fire pit and bathe there. Miss Davies noted everything in her folder, with an increasingly worried expression. Mr. Ryan, I must tell you that these conditions are inadequate for raising children. No running water, no electricity, no minimum standards of hygiene and safety. Officer, I know everything is bad, but I just got out of prison. Give me a chance to fix things. How long do you think you need? A few weeks, maybe a month. A month? She interrupted. Mr. Ryan, these children can't continue living like this for another month. They need proper care now. What do you mean by that? I mean that if the situation hasn't improved significantly in the next 15 days, I will be forced to remove the children from this house and place them in foster care or shelters. The world crashed down on Mick. He had just reunited with his children, and now he risked losing them again. Officer, please, don't separate my family. I promise I'll fix everything to make it better. Mr. Ryan, it's not a matter of promising. It's a matter of guaranteeing the children's safety and welfare. They have suffered enough. I know they have suffered, Mick burst out. I know better than anyone how much they've suffered, but I'm here now, and I'm going to look after them. What resources do you have? A job? Income? Can you afford the necessary repairs to the house? Mick was silent. He had no answer to any of that. That's what I thought, Miss Davies said with a sigh. Look, Mr. Ryan, I don't want to separate this family, but my duty is to protect these children. If I come back here in 15 days and find the same situation, I will have to take the appropriate action. She addressed the children. You need to understand that this is all for your own good. All right? If you need anything, you can find me at the community services office." After the woman left, the house was in total silence. The children looked at Mick with fear in their eyes. "Dad," Chloe said, her voice trembling, "she's going to take us away." "No, love, I won't let that happen," Mick said, despite having no idea how he would manage to change everything in just 15 days. "Dad, I don't want to go to an orphanage," Ethan said, starting to cry. "No one is going to an orphanage," Mick assured, hugging the child. "Dad, we'll fix it." Just then, Lachlan appeared at the door. It was obvious he had overheard the conversation with the CSO because his face was pale. "Now you see what it's come to," he said, his voice laden with bitterness. "Now we're going to be separated, and it's your fault." "Lachlan, it's not Dad's fault," Chloe defended. "It's not his fault. If he hadn't turned up here, no one would have called the CSO. We were managing fine on our own." "You are not managing fine," Mick burst out, losing his patience. "You're skinny, dirty, starving. That's not managing fine." "At least we were together," Lachlan yelled back. "Now we're going to be separated, and it's your fault." The boy ran out of the house again, slamming the door shut. Mick sank heavily onto the broken couch, his head in his hands. In less than 24 hours after leaving prison, his life had become a complete mess. His children didn't trust him. He had no money, no job, and now he risked losing the kids to the system. "Dad," Chloe said, approaching him, "don't be sad. We'll fix it." "How, love?" "I have nothing. No money, no job, no way to fix this house." "Have you tried to find a job, Dad?" "Love, I got out of prison this morning. I haven't had time to look for a job yet. But do you think anyone will give a job to someone who just got out of the clink?" Chloe's question hit Mick like a bolt of lightning. He hadn't thought about that. Even though he was innocent, the fact that he had spent 8 years in prison would certainly make it very difficult to get any job. "I'll try, love. I have to try." That night, Mick tried to sleep on the broken couch while listening to his children whisper in the next room. They were scared, and he couldn't blame them. He was terrified too. The next morning, he got up early and decided to go to town to look for work. He left the children with the bananas he had bought the day before and promised to return with more food. His first stop was at Dave's workshop, where he used to work before being arrested. "Mick," Dave said, looking surprised. "I heard you got out of the clink." "Yeah, Dave. I managed to prove I was innocent." "Ah, right," the man said, but his expression wasn't very convincing. "Dave, I wanted to know if you might have a little opening for me here at the workshop. I work hard, you know that." "Look, Mick," the man scratched his head. "The situation is a bit tricky here. I don't need anyone else right now. Dave, just one shot. I can work for any wage. It's not about the wage, mate. It's just, well, you know how it is. People get a bit sus about those who've done time. But I'm innocent. I have the papers to prove it. I believe you, Mick. But what are the customers going to say? It's not good for the business image." Mick left the workshop heartbroken. If not even Dave, who had known him for years, was willing to give him a chance, how would it be with others? He tried the butcher, the chemist, the building supplies depot, the clothing store, always the same response. No openings, didn't need anyone. Better look somewhere else. In some places, people didn't even let him finish talking. As soon as they heard he was out of prison, they shook their heads no. By late morning, Mick was sitting in the town square, staring at his empty hands. He hadn't found a single job, and time was running out. Michael Ryan, a female voice, called him. He looked up and saw a woman in her 60s, elegantly dressed, approaching him. "That's me," he replied, standing up. "My name is Beatrice Morrison. I'm a retired teacher from around here. May I sit down?" Mick nodded, and the woman sat next to him on the park bench. "I heard you came home and found your children in a tough situation," she said gently. "How did you hear?" "Small town, son. Everyone knows everything. I also heard you were declared innocent. That must be a huge relief." "It is, Bea, but now I have other problems to sort out. I imagine. 4 kids, house in terrible shape, no job." "Exactly. And the CSO gave me 15 days to fix everything. Otherwise, she'll take my kids." Beatrice was silent for a few moments, watching the activity in the square. "Mick, I lost my husband 3 years ago. He was a chippy, very skilled. He left a lot of tools stored at home, and I have no idea what to do with them. I'm very sorry for your loss." "Thank you, but that's not why I'm here. Look, my house is too big for one person, and there's always something that needs fixing. How about you take a look? Maybe we can work something out." Mick felt a spark of hope in his chest. What kind of arrangement? You help me with the house repairs, and I pay you for it. It's not a lot of money, but it's something. And if you're good at what you do, I can recommend you to other people in town. Bea, I'll take any job. I've always been good with my hands. Excellent. How about we head over now so you can see what needs fixing? Beatrice's house was an old, well-maintained building, but it truly needed some repairs. There were loose roof tiles, a dripping tap, a window that wouldn't close properly, and some floorboards that squeaked. I can fix all of this, Mick said, examining the problems. And how much would you charge, Bea? You gave me a chance when no one else would even listen. You can pay me whatever you think is fair. How about $200 to start? If the job is done well, we'll see about an increase. $200 wasn't much money, but it was a start. Mick accepted immediately and began working that very day. Working with his hands had always been a therapy for him. During the 8 years in prison, whenever possible, he volunteered for maintenance work, as it helped him forget the injustice he was experiencing. Beatrice prepared a simple lunch for him, and they chatted while they ate. Mick, can I ask you a personal question? Of course. What happened to your wife? Why did she abandon the children? Mick sighed deeply. Bea, to tell you the truth, I have no idea. When I was arrested, Sarah seemed determined to wait for me. She said she would fight for my innocence, that she would look after the kids until I came back. And what changed? I don't know. The first 2 years she visited me in prison regularly. Then the visits became less frequent. In the 3rd year, she stopped coming altogether, and when I sent her letters, she didn't reply. Do you think she might have gotten involved with someone else? Maybe. Or she might have started to believe I really was guilty. I don't know. All I know is she abandoned my kids when they needed her most. And do you have any way to contact her now? I don't even know where she is. The kid said she left 2 years ago and didn't leave an address or phone number. Beatrice shook her head, dismayed. 4 children alone for 2 years. It's a miracle they survived. Yeah, and Lachlan, my eldest son, was the one who looked after everyone. But now he's angry with me. He thinks I abandoned them on purpose. Give him time, Mick. Childhood wounds take time to heal, but they do heal. In the afternoon, Mick continued working at Beatrice's house while thinking about his children. He had promised to return with food, but he still didn't know how he would get the money for it. As if reading his thoughts, Beatrice appeared with a shopping bag. Mick, I'm doing a big Aussie barbecue tonight, and I ended up buying too many ingredients. How about you take this food home to your kids? Mick looked inside the bag and saw rice, snags, mince, bread, eggs, and some fruit. Bea, I can't take this for free. It's not free. Consider it an advance on your wages. That night, when Mick got home with the food, the children were ecstatic. It had been a long time since they had seen such variety. Dad, where did all this come from? Chloe asked while helping prepare dinner. I got a temporary job with a very kind lady. She paid me in advance. What kind of job? Lachlan asked, still suspicious. Repairs around her house, fixing tiles, taps, stuff like that. And you know how to do that? Yeah, sure. Before I was locked up, I did that kind of work. For the first time since he had arrived, Mick saw a shadow of respect in his eldest son's eyes. That night, while the children slept, Mick thought about what he would need to do in the coming days. He had to get more jobs to save enough money to at least fix the basics of the house. Running water, electricity, roof, windows, all of that would cost a lot of money. The next morning, he returned early to Beatrice's house and finished the repairs he had started the day before. The job was well done, and she was impressed with his skill. Mick, you work very well. I'm going to recommend you to Mrs. Henderson, who lives around the corner. She needs someone to change some roof tiles. And so it began. Beatrice recommended Mick to Mrs. Henderson, who in turn recommended him to her neighbor Robert, who told his mate, and so on. Little by little, Mick was building a small clientele for maintenance and repair work. The money wasn't a lot, but at least the children weren't starving anymore. He managed to buy used clothes for them, personal hygiene items, and even some simple toys for the little ones. But time was passing, and the structural problems of the house remained the same. In 1 week, the CSO would return, and Mick knew that the small repairs he had done would not be enough. It was then that something happened that would change everything. Mick was fixing the fence of a rural property when a well-dressed man arrived driving a new car. "Are you Michael Ryan?" the man asked. "Yes, I am," Mick replied, putting down the hammer he was holding. "My name is Dr. Richard Mackenzie. I'm a barrister. I was the one who helped prove your innocence." Mick felt his heart race. He vaguely remembered the name of the lawyer who had worked on his case, but he had never met him in person. "Doctor, thank you so much for what you did for me. If it weren't for you, I'd still be in the clink. You don't have to thank me. I was doing my job, but that's not why I'm here. I heard you returned home and found yourself in a difficult situation. It's true. My children are living in rough conditions. And I also heard you're working hard to try and sort everything out. I'm doing what I can, but it's not easy." Dr. Mackenzie looked around the property where Mick was working and noted the quality of the work he was doing. "Mick, I need someone to do some repairs at my chambers leaks, electrical problems, that sort of thing. Would you be interested?" "Of course, doctor. When do you need it done?" "As soon as possible. And I can tell you I pay well for quality work." "How much would it be?" "How about $1,000 to start? If the job is done well, there will be more work down the track." Mick almost fell backwards. $1,000 was more money than he had seen together in the last 8 years. "Doctor, are you serious?" "Yes, I am. And I'll tell you something. When I was investigating your case, I discovered a lot about you. You were always hardworking, honest, a good family man. What happened to you was an injustice. And if I can help in any way, I will." Mick felt tears welling up in his eyes. "Thank you so much, doctor. You don't know what this means to me." "Yes, I do. And there's something else. I know a lot of people in town who need services like yours. If you do a good job at my chambers, I can recommend you to them." That afternoon, Mick returned home more cheerful than he had been since leaving prison. With $1,000, he could at least solve the most urgent problems in the house. "Dad, why are you smiling?" Liam asked when he saw him arrive. "Because Dad got a big job, son, and with the money from that job, we're going to be able to fix some things around the house here." "Seriously?" Chloe's eyes lit up. "Seriously, love." Even Lachlan seemed interested in the conversation. "What kind of fixes?" he asked. "Well, first, I'm going to call a Sparky to reconnect the power. Then I'm going to see if I can fix the plumbing so we have running water, and after that, I'm going to fix at least some of the roof tiles." "And will there be money left over for food?" Ethan asked worriedly. Mick laughed and ruffled the child's hair. "Yes, there will be, son. We'll have food, a fixed house, and everything you need." For the first time since he had arrived, Mick saw something akin to hope in his children's eyes. In the following days, he worked tirelessly at Dr. Mackenzie's chambers. The barrister had been right about the problems there. There were serious leaks. The electrical wiring was old and dangerous, and some windows wouldn't close properly. Mick worked 12 hours a day, determined to do the best job possible. It wasn't just about money. It was about dignity, proving he was still capable, proving he deserved a second chance. Dr. Mackenzie was impressed with his dedication and the quality of the work. "Mick, you work better than a lot of professionals I've hired, and I've hired some expensive people." "Thanks, doctor. I'm doing my best." "I can see that. And I can tell you I've already spoken about you to at least 5 people who need similar services." At the end of the first week, Dr. Mackenzie paid the promised $1,000 and also gave a $300 bonus for the extra work Mick had done. With $1,300 in hand, Mick felt rich. He went to the hardware store and bought everything needed for the basic repairs to the house. He also hired a Sparky to reconnect the power and a plumber to fix at least one tap and install a simple shower head. The children were ecstatic to see the activity around the house. Workers coming and going, materials arriving, the sound of tools. "Dad, is it going to look like a rich person's house?" Ethan asked with wide eyes. "No, son, it won't look like a rich person's house, but it will be a proper, comfortable house for us to live in." Even Lachlan was excited. He grabbed a broom and started helping to clean up the rubble from the work. "Dad," he said while they worked together, "sorry for being rude to you when you arrived." Mick stopped what he was doing and looked at his son. "You don't have to apologize, son. You had every right to be angry." "No, I didn't. I knew you weren't to blame for being locked up. Mom told us you were wrongly accused, but I was so angry about everything that happened that I ended up taking it out on you. And why didn't you believe me when I said I was innocent?" Lachlan looked down. "Because it was easier to be angry at you than to accept that Mom had abandoned us. If I believed you were innocent, I'd have to accept that she left by her own choice, not because she couldn't look after us alone." Mick felt his heart clench. His 15-year-old son had carried a huge emotional burden for his age. "Lachlan, your mum. She's not a bad person. She just couldn't handle the situation. Dad, I know you tried to defend her, but she abandoned us. She left 4 young kids alone. Is that what a mother does?" Mick didn't know how to respond. He was also hurt by Sarah, But he didn't want the kids to hold a grudge against their mother. "Son, sometimes people do bad things when they're desperate. Maybe she thought you'd be better off without her, that the neighbors would help, or that someone would look after you. But we don't have family, Dad. Everyone knows that." It was true. Mick and Sarah were practically orphans, with no extended families to help. "Then she made a mistake, son. A huge mistake. But that doesn't change the fact that she's your mother and that you had good times with her." Lachlan was silent for a few minutes. "Dad, can I ask you a question?" "You can. Do you love her?" The question caught Mick by surprise. He stopped working and thought for a long moment. "You know, son, I spent 8 years in the clink thinking about her, remembering the good times we had, planning our life when I got out. But when I got here and saw that she had abandoned you, I think what I felt for her died at that moment. And if she comes back, we'll have to talk. But it won't be about getting back together. It will just be about you kids." "I don't want her to come back," Lachlan said firmly. "Why?" "Because we're good now. You're here. The house is getting fixed. There's food. If she comes back, she'll just mess everything up again." Mick understood his son's fear. Lachlan had taken on the role of protector for his younger siblings, and now feared that his mother's return could destabilize the family again. "Son, if she comes back, we'll all talk together and decide what's best, but you don't have to worry about that now." "Okay, Dad." The next day, exactly 1 week before the deadline given by the CSO, Mick woke up early and assessed the progress of the work. The power had been reconnected. Now they had light in every room, and they even managed to hook up a small, used fridge they bought. The basic plumbing was working. They had running water in the kitchen and the bathroom, and a simple electric shower had been installed. The roof wasn't perfect yet, but the biggest holes had been patched, and the rain no longer came in. They had painted the walls of the lounge and bedrooms with cheap paint, but it made everything cleaner and brighter. They bought new mattresses for everyone, and now each child had their own bed. It wasn't a luxurious house, but it was a decent house. It was a home. "Dad," Chloe said during breakfast, "can we invite some friends from school to see the new house?" "Of course, love. You can invite whoever you want." "Really?" She smiled excitedly. "For ages, I've been embarrassed to bring anyone here. And now you're not embarrassed anymore?" "No, Dad. Now I'm proud of our house." Words like those were worth more than all the money in the world to Mick. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please hit the like button, and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot who are just starting out. Continuing, that afternoon, Dr. Mackenzie showed up at Mick's house to see how the repairs were going. "Wow, it looks great," he said, impressed. "You completely transformed this place in a week." "Thanks, doctor. The kids helped a lot." "And how are they reacting to the changes?" "Much better. Even Lachlan, who was the most resistant, is helping now." "That's good. And how do you feel?" Mick thought for a moment before answering. "Doctor, for the first time since I got out of the clink, I feel like maybe we can rebuild our lives. I'm sure you will. And speaking of which, I brought you a proposal." "What proposal?" "A friend of mine has a small building company here in town. They mainly do renovations and repairs on residential homes. Talking to him about you, he was interested in hiring you." Mick's heart raced. "Hiring me as what?" "As a permanent employee, with a contract, monthly salary, benefits. How does that sound?" "Doctor, I don't know what to say. That would be a dream." "Well, how about we meet with him tomorrow? If you agree, you can start next week." That night, Mick could barely sleep from the anxiety. A permanent job opportunity was more than he had dared to dream of. The next morning, he dressed as smartly as possible and went with Dr. Mackenzie to the building company. The owner, Mr. Louis Lou Brennan, was a middle-aged man, friendly and direct. "Richie told me a lot about you," Lou said. "He said you work well and you're reliable. I strive to do my best, Mr. Brennan. That's what I want to hear. I'll be straight with you. I don't care that you've been in prison. I care if you know how to work and if you're honest. And from what I saw of your work at Richie's Chambers, you know how to work. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. You'll have to earn the opportunity. I'm going to hire you on a 3-month trial basis. Salary of $3,500 a month plus benefits. If it works out, we'll renew indefinitely. Do you accept?" $3,500 a month was more money than Mick earned in several months doing temporary jobs. "Yes, I accept, Mr. Brennan. When can I start?" "Next Monday. Be here at 7 a.m. Mick walked out of the building company, walking on air. He finally had a permanent job, a guaranteed salary, a chance to truly rebuild his life. When he got home and told the children the news, they were ecstatic. "Dad, does that mean we won't be doing it tough anymore?" Liam asked. "That's right, son. Now Dad has a permanent job, and we'll live well." "And the CSO won't threaten to take us away anymore?" Ethan asked. "No, son. She's going to see that we now have a good house, food, and that Dad can look after you." Lachlan approached Mick with tears in his eyes. "Dad, sorry for doubting you. Now I see you really came to stay and look after us. You don't have to apologize, son. You had every right to be suspicious, but now you can be sure. I'll never abandon you again." On Saturday, 2 days before the CSO's visit, Mick made one last improvement to the house. He bought paint and gave the exterior walls another coat. He fixed the front door that was crooked and planted some flowers in the small garden by the entrance. "Dad, the house is beautiful," Chloe said, admiring the result. "Yes, it is," Mick agreed. "And most importantly, now it's a house where you can live with dignity." On Sunday, they received an unexpected visitor. Beatrice, the retired teacher who had given Mick his first job opportunity, showed up at the door with a hot apple crumble. "Mick," she exclaimed, seeing the house's transformation. "What an incredible change. Hello, B. Please come in." "Wow, it's unrecognizable," she said, looking around. "You managed to work miracles in 3 weeks." "It wasn't a miracle, Bea. It was hard work and some good people who gave me a chance." "Including you," Lachlan added. "If you hadn't given Dad that first job, none of this would have happened." Beatrice blushed, visibly moved. "Sometimes all you need is for someone to believe in you, right?" "That's true," Mick agreed. "And how are you kids doing?" Beatrice asked, addressing Mick's children. "We're good," Liam said excitedly. "Now we have power, hot water, new beds, and Dad got a permanent job. That's wonderful. You all deserve this happiness." "Bea," Chloe said, "do you want to stay for dinner? We're making spaghetti and meatballs." "I'd love to, dear." During dinner, Beatrice shared stories from when she was a teacher, and the children talked about their plans for the future. Liam wanted to be a mechanic like his dad. Ethan dreamed of being a firefighter. Chloe wanted to study nursing, and Lachlan, who had returned to his studies, talked about studying engineering. "You all have beautiful dreams," Beatrice said, "and with your dad's support and a lot of study, I'm sure you'll achieve them all." "You really think we can?" Chloe asked. "I'm certain, my dear. You've already proven you can overcome any difficulty. If you managed to survive 2 years alone and are now rebuilding your family, you can achieve any dream." On Monday morning, Mick woke up early, dressed in his cleanest clothes, and headed to his first day of work at the building company. Lou introduced him to the other employees and explained his responsibilities. Mick would be responsible for electrical and plumbing repairs in homes, work he mastered perfectly. "Mick, you'll be working with Robert here," Lou said, pointing to a man in his 50-seconds. "He'll show you how we work around here." Robert was a friendly, experienced man who quickly became a mentor to Mick. "So, you're the bloke who was wrongly locked up?" Robert asked during the first break. "Yeah, that's me. What a terrible situation, Mate. 8 years away from your family for something you didn't do. It was tough, but now I'm trying to rebuild everything. And from what I hear, you're doing an impressive job." Lou said, "You transformed your house in 3 weeks. I had to. The CSO was going to take my kids if I didn't improve the conditions." "And did you improve them?" "I did. This afternoon she's making her final visit. I'm sure everything will be fine." At the end of his first day of work, Mick was exhausted but happy. The work at the building company was harder than the odd jobs he had been doing, but it was also more organized and better paid. When he got home, he found the children anxiously waiting for him. "Well, Dad, how was your first day?" Lachlan asked. "Very good, son. The people there are great, and the work is honest." "Dad," Chloe said nervously, "the CSO called. She's coming here at 3 p.m. Mick looked at the clock. It was 2:30. "It's all right, love. We're ready for her." Exactly at 3 o'clock, Miss Davies arrived at Mick's house. As soon as she got out of the car, her expression completely changed. The difference between the house she had seen 2 weeks earlier and the one she was seeing now was stunning. "Good afternoon, Miss Davies," Mick greeted politely. "Good afternoon, Mr. Ryan. Wow, what a transformation. Please come in. The children are waiting for you." The CSO entered the house and was impressed. Everything was clean, organized, well lit. The children were dressed in clean clothes, well-groomed, clearly well cared for. "How did you manage to change so much in such a short time?" she asked, genuinely surprised. "Hard work, officer, and some good people who gave me a chance. May I see the rooms?" "Of course, miss." Davies inspected the entire house. The bathroom now had running water and a functioning shower. The children's room was tidy with individual beds and organized clothes. The kitchen had a fridge, a working stove, and adequate utensils. Mr. Ryan, I must admit I'm impressed. This change exceeds any expectation I might have had. Thank you, officer. And did you manage to find a job? Yes, I did. Signed contract. Fixed salary of $3,500 a month. Excellent. And the children, how are they adapting? Why don't you ask them yourself? Miss Davies spoke individually with each child. They all showed they were happy, well cared for, and, most importantly, confident in their father. Lachlan, she said to the eldest boy, 2 weeks ago, you were resentful of your father. What changed? I saw he really came to stay and look after us, officer. He worked day and night to fix the house and get a job. A dad who does that for his family deserves respect. And you're no longer afraid of being separated from your siblings? No, officer. Now I know we're going to stay together. Chloe, and how do you feel? I feel safe, officer. For the first time in a long time, I feel safe. Safe? In what sense? Safe that there will be food, that the house won't fall down, that someone will look after us if we get sick. Safe that we're a real family. Liam and Ethan, are you happy? Very happy, the twins answered in unison. Now we can play without worrying about whether there'll be dinner, Liam added. And I can sleep without being afraid of the rain wetting my bed, Ethan said. Miss Davies finished her notes and addressed Mick again. Mr. Ryan, I rarely see such a radical and positive transformation in such a short time. You not only met the minimum requirements, you completely exceeded them. Thank you, officer. Therefore, I can officially withdraw the threat of removing the children. They are in a healthy and safe environment, with a capable guardian who can provide for their needs. Mick felt his legs go weak with relief. The children screamed with joy and hugged each other. But the CSO continued. I'd like to continue making monthly visits just to follow up on the family's development, not as supervision, but as support. You'll be very welcome whenever you want to come, officer. After Miss Davies left, the family had a small celebration. Mick bought soft drinks and snacks, and they celebrated together. Dad, Lachlan said during the celebration, can I say something? Of course, son. When you got here 3 weeks ago, I thought our life was going to get even worse, but I was wrong. You changed everything. We changed everything, son. I wouldn't have done it alone. How so? You looked after your siblings for 2 years. Chloe helped keep the house running. Liam and Ethan never lost hope. You gave me the strength to fight. If you hadn't survived until I came back, none of this would make sense. Dad, Chloe said emotionally, we always knew you would come back. Even when Mum said you wouldn't, we knew. How did you know? Because you promised, Liam said simply. I remember you saying you'd always look after us no matter what happened. Mick felt tears well up in his eyes. Even though they were so young when he was locked up, his children had kept his promise in their hearts. And I'll keep that promise until the end of my life, he said, hugging all his children at once. That night, for the first time in 8 years, Mick slept in peace. His family was united, safe, and happy. They had a decent house, food on the table, and prospects for a better future. But life still held surprises for them. The next morning, as Mick was getting ready for work, there was a knock at the door. When he opened it, he found a thin woman, looking tired, with deep bags under her eyes and worn clothes. It was Sarah. Hello, Mick, she said in a weak voice. Mick was paralyzed for a few seconds. He hadn't seen her in 8 years, and she looked very different, older, thinner, with a deep sadness in her eyes. Sarah, what are you doing here? I heard you got out of the clink. I came to see the kids. To see the kids? Mick's voice rose a tone. You abandoned them 2 years ago. Now you want to see the kids? Mick, please, let me explain. Explain what? How could you abandon 4 small children? Just then, the children appeared at the kitchen door. Seeing their mother, their reactions were completely different. Liam and Ethan, the youngest, ran to hug her. Mum, you're back, Ethan shouted excitedly. Chloe stood still where she was, looking at her mother with an expression of pain and confusion. Lachlan simply turned his back and walked back into the house. My babies, Sarah said, hugging the twins with tears in her eyes. How much you've grown. Mum, why did you go? Liam asked innocently. Sarah didn't know what to say. She looked at Mick as if asking for help. Come in, he said reluctantly. The children deserve a conversation with you. Sarah entered the house and was impressed by the changes. Wow, it looks different in here, she murmured. Dad fixed everything, Ethan said proudly. Now we have power, hot water, and even a fridge. That's good, Sarah said, but there was sadness in her voice. Chloe, come say hello to your mum, Mick called. The girl approached slowly. Hello, Mum, she said coldly. Chloe, my love, you look so lovely. You've grown into a young woman. Yeah, I grew a lot in 2 years, Chloe replied with a cutting tone that didn't go unnoticed by anyone. Where's Lachlan? Sarah asked. He doesn't want to see you, Chloe replied directly. Why? Because you abandoned us when we needed you most. Mick intervened. Chloe, go call your brother. Your mum deserves a conversation with you. She deserves it? The girl burst out. She abandoned us, Dad. She left 4 kids alone. If anyone deserves something, it's us who deserve an explanation. Chloe, Mick scolded. No, Mick, Sarah said softly. She's right. You all deserve an explanation. Sarah sat on the lounge sofa and took a deep breath before starting to speak. When you were arrested, Mick, I thought I could look after the kids alone. At first I even managed, but over time, the situation got harder and harder. Hard how? Chloe asked, crossing her arms. I had no money for anything. The house started to fall apart, and I didn't know how to fix it. The children got sick, and I had no money for the doctor. The neighbors started speaking badly about us, saying you kids were neglected. And that's when you started drinking? Lachlan asked, who had appeared at the door unnoticed. Sarah lowered her head. I started drinking to forget the problems, and the more I drank, the worse everything got. And the men you brought home? Lachlan's voice was filled with pain. Lachlan, I was alone, desperate. Those men promised to help me. They promised to look after us. But they didn't look after us, did they? Chloe said. They just wanted to take advantage of you. It's true, Sarah admitted. I was naive. I thought one of them would marry me and solve our problems. And why did you leave? Liam asked, who didn't fully understand the conversation between the older ones. Sarah looked at her youngest son with tears in her eyes. Because I got sick, son. I got very sick from the grog and the gear. The gear? Mick was shocked. I started drinking to forget the problems. Then one of the blokes offered me other stuff, said it would help me forget the pain. Before I knew it, I was an addict. The silence in the lounge was deafening. Even the smallest children understood the seriousness of what they were hearing. That's why you left? Chloe asked. I left because I realized I was hurting you. I couldn't look after you properly anymore. You were scared of me when I was high. I yelled at you. Sometimes I didn't even remember to give you food. And you thought leaving would solve it? Lachlan's voice was full of anger. I thought you'd be better off without me. That the neighbors would help. That someone would look after you. But no one helped. Lachlan burst out. Everyone disappeared. I had to drop out of school to work. Chloe had to look after the little ones. We starved, Mum. We starved. Sarah began to cry uncontrollably. I know I did everything wrong, but I couldn't think straight. The gear had taken over my mind. And where have you been for these 2 years? Chloe asked. In the city, living on the street most of the time, trying to quit the gear, relapsing, trying again. And did you manage to quit? Mick asked. I did. It's been 6 months since I used anything. I'm living in a boarding house and working at a laundromat. And why did you come back now? Lachlan asked suspiciously. Because I heard your dad got out of the clink and that you were doing well. I thought maybe we could try again. Be a family again. A family again? Lachlan laughed bitterly. After everything you did? Son, I know it will be hard to forgive. But forgive? The boy interrupted. You want forgiveness? Then I'll tell you what we went through after you left. Lachlan, it's not necessary. Mick tried to interrupt. Yes, it is, Dad. She needs to know. Lachlan turned to his mother. Do you know how many times we went to sleep hungry? Do you know how many times I had to lie at school saying we were fine? Do you know how many times Chloe cried herself to sleep because she missed you? Lachlan, stop, Chloe pleaded, embarrassed. I won't stop. Do you know how many times Ethan woke up in the middle of the night asking where his mum was? Do you know how many times Liam got sick and we didn't even have money for medicine? Sarah was sobbing now, her head in her hands. And do you know what hurts the most? Lachlan continued. It's that when Dad arrived, he did in 3 weeks what you couldn't do in 6 years. He got a job, fixed the house, gave us love. He proved that when you truly love someone, you don't abandon them. Lachlan, enough, Mick said firmly. Why enough, Dad? She has to know the truth. She already knows it, son, and she's suffering enough. Mick approached Sarah and knelt in front of her. Sarah, look at me. She lifted her eyes, swollen from crying. I won't lie to you. What you did was very serious. These children suffered more than any child should suffer, and it's going to take a long time for them to forgive you. I know, she murmured. But, Mick continued, you are their mother. And if you've really changed, if you're clean from the gear and want to be a part of their lives again, we can try to talk. Mick, do you forgive me? Sarah, it's not about me forgiving you. It's about the children forgiving you. They are the ones who suffered from your absence. And if they can't forgive me, then you'll have to live with the consequences of your choices. Sarah was silent for a few minutes, processing everything she had heard. Can I at least try? She asked timidly. Try what? Chloe asked. Try to win back your love. Try to be your mother again. I don't know if that's possible, Chloe said honestly. Me neither, Lachlan agreed. Liam and Ethan watched the whole situation, confused. They were too young to fully understand the gravity of the family problems. Mum, Liam said innocently. Why is everyone angry at you? Because Mum did bad things, son. But you can say sorry, right? The child's innocence broke the hearts of everyone present. I already said sorry, my love, but sometimes saying sorry isn't enough. Why not? Because some wounds are very deep, son, Mick explained softly. Dad, Ethan said, I want Mum to stay. I know, son, but it's not that simple. Sarah stood up from the sofa. Mick, I'm going. I don't want to cause you any more trouble. Sarah, wait! No, you're right. The children are well now. You managed to build a family without me. I don't have the right to show up here and mess everything up again. Mum, don't go, Liam shouted, clinging to her leg. I have to go, my love, but I promise I'll try to be a better person, and who knows, maybe one day you can forgive me. Ethan joined his brother, hugging their mother. Please don't go again. Sarah knelt and hugged her two youngest sons. I love you both very much, never forget that. And when you grow up and understand things better, I hope you can forgive me. She stood up and looked at Chloe. Chloe, you've grown into a beautiful, strong young woman. Look after your little brothers. I've been looking after them for 2 years, Chloe replied, but her voice was hard. I know, and you've done a better job than I ever did. Sarah headed for the door, but Mick grabbed her arm. Sarah, you don't have to leave like this. We can talk about this. No, Mick, the children have suffered enough. I'm not going to be responsible for making them suffer anymore. But the children want you to stay. The children are small and don't understand the situation. Lachlan and Chloe do understand, and they're right not to forgive me. Maybe with time, maybe, but not now. Now they need stability, and I only brought instability into their lives. Sarah opened the door to leave but turned back one last time. Mick, yes, thank you for looking after them, for giving them what I couldn't give. Sarah, and forgive me. Forgive me for doubting your innocence. Forgive me for not being strong enough to wait for you to come back. You don't have to apologize to me, you have to apologize to them, Mick said, pointing to the children. I already did, but an apology doesn't erase 2 years of abandonment. Sarah left the house, leaving Liam and Ethan crying at the door. Dad, why did you let Mum go? Liam asked between sobs. Because sometimes letting someone go is the best way to show love for that person, son. I don't understand. You will someday. That night, the house was mournful. Liam and Ethan cried until they fell asleep. Chloe was thoughtful and quiet, and Lachlan didn't even come home. Dad, Chloe said before going to bed, do you think we did the right thing? The right thing about what, love? About not forgiving Mum. Mick thought carefully before answering. Love, forgiveness, is something that can't be forced. It has to come from the heart, and your hearts are still too hurt to forgive. And if we never manage to forgive, then you'll have to live with that choice. But remember, forgiveness isn't for the benefit of the person who made the mistake. It's to free the one who was hurt. How so? When we hold on to a grudge, anger, resentment, the ones who suffer most are ourselves. Forgiving is a way to free yourself from that suffering. But how do you forgive someone who abandoned us? I don't know, love. Everyone has to find their own way to forgive. And it's okay if you can't forgive now. Maybe in the future you will. Dad, can Mum come back? She can. The door to our house isn't closed to her, but if she comes back, she'll have to prove she's really changed. And even then, you're not obliged to accept her back into your life. The next morning, Lachlan appeared at breakfast with red eyes from crying so much. Where did you sleep? Mick asked worriedly. At Bee's house. She let me stay there. Lachlan, you can't leave the house like that without saying anything. I was worried. Sorry, Dad. I needed to be alone to think. And did you manage to think? Yeah, and I came to a conclusion. What conclusion? that I hate my mum. Lachlan's words shocked the whole family. Lachlan, Mick scolded, don't talk like that. Why not? It's the truth. I hate her for abandoning us. I hate her for making us suffer. And I hate her for showing up here yesterday and making the little ones cry again. Son, hate isn't good for anyone. Better to hate than pretend to forgive. No one is asking you to pretend anything. Then let me be angry at her. I have that right. Mick knew his son was right. Lachlan had taken on adult responsibilities too soon and had the right to feel betrayed by his mother. All right, son, you have the right to be angry. But don't let that anger consume you. How so? Don't let the anger you feel towards your mum stop you from being happy, from living your life, from loving other people. Lachlan was silent, thinking about his father's words. Dad, can I ask you a question? You can. Do you love her? No, son. The love I felt for your mum died when I discovered she had abandoned you. And if she comes back remorseful, if she proves she's changed, you still wouldn't love her as a wife again? Maybe I could forgive her, but romantic love doesn't return. Why? Because love needs trust, and I could never fully trust her again. I understand. That morning, Mick went to work with a heavy heart. Sarah's visit had affected everyone, especially the younger children. At work, Robert noticed he was down. Everything all right, Mick? You look a bit off today. My ex-wife turned up yesterday. Wow. And how did that go? Complicated. She wants to try again, but the kids can't forgive her for abandoning them. And can you forgive her? I don't know. For myself, maybe I could, but for the kids, it's very hard. And what about her? How is she? She's changed, from what she said. Yeah, she's quit the gear. She has a job, but I don't know if I can believe her, mate. What a messy situation. Yeah, and I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to give her a chance for the sake of the little ones, but another part is afraid she'll hurt the kids again. What if you tried slowly? Like, she doesn't move back into the house, but she visits the kids regularly. I don't know if the older kids would accept that. Maybe it would be good to talk to them. Explain that forgiving doesn't mean forgetting, but everyone deserves a second chance. Maybe you're right. That afternoon, when Mick got home from work, he found an unexpected situation. Sarah was sitting on the veranda, talking with Liam and Ethan. What's going on here? He asked, surprised. Dad, Mum came back, Ethan said excitedly. Mick, sorry for just showing up, Sarah said, standing up, but I couldn't leave without trying one more time. Where are Chloe and Lachlan? Inside the house. They didn't want to talk to me. Sarah, yesterday you said you were leaving not to cause any more trouble. I know what I said, but after I left here, I kept thinking. I thought about the kids' faces when they saw me. They were happy, and I thought maybe I don't have the right to deprive them of their mother's love. And what right do you have to turn up here and stir up their feelings again? Mick, please, I just want a chance to prove I've changed. Prove how? I don't know. However necessary. I can start by visiting them once a week. I don't need to live here. I just want to be a part of their lives again. Just then, Lachlan appeared at the door. Dad, can I talk to you? Of course. Son, privately. Mick followed Lachlan inside the house, leaving Sarah on the veranda with the twins. What's up, son? Dad, I thought a lot about yesterday and came to a conclusion. What conclusion? That maybe we should give her a chance, not for her, but for the little ones. Liam and Ethan miss their mum, and it's not fair for me to stop them from having contact with her because of my anger. Mick was surprised by his son's maturity. Are you sure about this, Lachlan? I am, but with conditions. What conditions? First, she doesn't live here. Second, if she shows up drunk or high even once, she doesn't come back. Third, if she misses an agreed-upon visit with the kids, she also doesn't come back. And Chloe, what does she think? Chloe agrees with me. We talked this afternoon. Are you sure you can handle this? I don't know if we can, but we're going to try for the little ones. Mick hugged his son, proud of his maturity. You've grown up a lot, Lachlan. More than any kid your age should have grown up. I didn't have a choice, did I, Dad? Unfortunately not. But you've become a good, responsible man. I learned from you. You learned on your own, son. I wasn't here to teach you. Yes, you were. I remembered the things you used to say before you were locked up, and that guided me when I didn't know what to do. Mick felt tears well up in his eyes. Even in prison, he had somehow managed to positively influence his son's upbringing. They returned to the veranda, where Sarah was still talking to the children. Sarah, Mick said, Lachlan and Chloe decided to give you a second chance. Sarah's eyes lit up. Seriously? But with conditions. Lachlan added, approaching. What conditions? You won't live here. You can visit us once a week, on Sunday afternoons. If you miss a visit without warning or show up drunk or high, you don't come back. Sarah nodded vigorously. I accept all the conditions, whatever you want. And there's more, Lachlan continued. We're not going to pretend everything is fine between us. It's going to take a long time for us to trust you again. I understand. And you, Dad? Chloe asked, who had approached. Do you accept Mum visiting us? If that's what you want, I accept. Mick, Sarah said timidly. And between us, is there no chance of… No, Sarah, he interrupted firmly. Between us, there's nothing left. You can have access to the children, but our marriage is over. I understand. And there's something you need to understand now. I am responsible for the children. Important decisions about them go through me. If you disagree with something, you can give your opinion, but the final word is mine. Okay, then it's settled, Mick said. You can come visit them every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 5. Thank you, Sarah said with tears in her eyes. Thank you for giving me this chance. Don't thank us, Lachlan said. Thank them, he pointed to the twins. If it weren't for them, you wouldn't have this chance. Sarah knelt in front of Liam and Ethan. Thank you, my little ones. I promise I won't disappoint you this time. Do you really promise? Liam asked. I promise, and if I break the promise, then you won't have to see me ever again. That first Sunday, Sarah arrived promptly at 2 p.m. She brought some lollies for the children and spent the afternoon chatting with them in the yard. Lachlan and Chloe kept their distance, but Liam and Ethan were glued to their mother the whole time. Mum, Ethan said, are you coming back next week? Yes, my love. I'll be here every Sunday. Promise? I promise. At 5 p.m., Sarah said goodbye to the children and left as agreed. How did it go? Mick asked Lachlan later. Weird, the boy admitted. But the little ones were happy. And you? How did you feel? Still angry, but a smaller anger. I'll need time to process all this. You have all the time in the world, son. In the following weeks, Sarah kept her word. Every Sunday at 2 o'clock, she was at the door, and at 5 o'clock, she left promptly. Little by little, Lachlan and Chloe began to participate more in the conversations. There was still tension, but there was also an effort on all sides to make it work. One Sunday, about 2 months after Sarah's return, something significant happened. Mum, Chloe said during the visit. Can I tell you something? Of course, love. When you left 2 years ago, I cried every night for 3 months. Sarah felt her heart clench. Forgive me, love. Forgive me for making you suffer so much. I'm still angry about that. But I also miss the mum you used to be. What mum was that? The mum who made apple crumble on Sundays. The mum who braided my hair before school. The mum who sang us to sleep. Do you want me to make apple crumble today? Sarah asked hopefully. I don't know if I remember the recipe. I remember it, Chloe said with a small smile. I can teach you. It was the first time in months that Chloe had shown any affection towards her mother. They made the crumble together, and for the first time since Sarah had returned, it seemed like they were truly connected. Mum, Chloe said while the crumble was baking. Did you really quit the gear? Yes, I quit, love. It's been 8 months. And you don't feel like using it? Sometimes I do, especially when I get sad or stressed. But then I remember you kids, and the urge goes away. Promise you'll never use it again? I promise you, love. And if I ever feel like I won't be able to keep that promise, I'll look for help. What kind of help? There are groups of people who went through the same problem as me. They meet and talk. They help each other not to use again. Do you go to those groups? Yes, I go every Tuesday and Thursday night. And does it work? Yes, it works. It helps me remember why I quit and gives me strength to stay clean. When the crumble was ready, the whole family gathered to eat. Even Lachlan complimented the taste. It tastes just like the one you used to make, he said, and there was a less hostile tone in his voice. Thanks, Lachlan. It doesn't mean I've forgiven you, though, he added quickly. I know, and I don't expect forgiveness. I'm just trying to be a better mother from now on. A few months later, Sarah made a request that took everyone by surprise. Mick, can I talk to you privately? Sure. They went out to the yard away from the children. What's up, Sarah? I wanted to ask you something. I know it might be asking too much, but just spit it out. Do you think Liam could spend a weekend with me at the boarding house where I live? Mick was silent for a long moment. Sarah, I don't know if that's a good idea. Why? Because if something goes wrong, if you relapse, Liam will suffer a lot. Mick, I won't relapse. It's been almost a year since I've been clean. But what if you do relapse? What if you can't look after him properly? Then I'll bring him straight back, or you can come and get him. Mick thought about the proposal. Sarah had truly demonstrated a change in the past few months. She was always punctual for visits, sober, affectionate with the children. I need to talk to the kids first. Of course. That night, Mick gathered all his children to talk about Sarah's request. What do you all think? I think it's dangerous, Lachlan said immediately. Why? What if she relapses? What if she abandons Liam there? And you, Chloe, what do you think? I think maybe we should give her a chance. She's been well behaved all these months. Liam, do you want to spend a weekend with your mum? Yes, the boy said excitedly. We can go to the park and the movies. And you, Ethan, are you jealous of your brother? No, she can take me too afterwards. Then it's settled, Mick said. Liam can spend a weekend with his mum, but with some conditions. What conditions, Dad? Lachlan asked. First, if something goes wrong, Liam calls home immediately. Second, if Sarah doesn't bring him back on Sunday night, I'll go and get him. Third, if anything bad happens, she loses the right to visits. I agree with all that, Lachlan said. The following weekend, Sarah took Liam to spend 2 days with her in the city. The boy returned happy and full of stories to tell. Dad, Mum took me to the zoo and the shops, and we ate pizza. That's good, son. And she was well behaved? Yes. She didn't drink any grown-up drinks and looked after me very well. Excellent. Little by little, Sarah was gaining the family's trust. First, Liam spent weekends with her, then Ethan too. Chloe began accepting her advice on girl things, and even Lachlan began treating her with less hostility. But the real test came 1 year after her return. It was a rainy Sunday, and Sarah hadn't shown up for the usual visit. 2 p.m. passed, then 3, then 4. Dad, Liam said worriedly. Why hasn't Mum come? I don't know, son. Maybe she was delayed by the rain. But at 5 p.m., when the visit time was over, Sarah still hadn't shown up. She broke her promise, Lachlan said angrily. I knew this would happen. Calm down, son. Maybe something happened to her. What always happens happened. She chose something else instead of us. Mick was worried, but tried not to show it to the children. On Monday, he decided to go to the boarding house where Sarah lived to find out what had happened. The landlady received him with a worried expression. You're Mick, right? Sarah's husband. Ex-husband. What happened to her? She had a relapse on Friday night. She came back here completely high and spent the whole weekend in her room, sleeping or delirious. Mick's heart sank. Is she here now? Yes, but she's not well yet. I think it's best if you don't go up. Let me talk to her. The landlady took him to Sarah's room. When he opened the door, Mick saw his ex-wife lying on the bed, pale, sweaty, clearly having a hard time. Sarah, she opened her eyes with difficulty. Mick, what are you doing here? You didn't show up yesterday to visit the children. Sarah closed her eyes as if in pain. I had a relapse, after more than a year clean. I know, it was a moment of weakness, but I was having some problems at work and a bloke offered me some stuff to help me relax, and then you accepted. I accepted, and now I'm paying the price. Sarah, do you know what this means? She opened her eyes and looked at him sadly. It means I lost my children again. It means you broke the trust we had placed in you. Mick, it was just one time, a moment of weakness. It won't happen again. You said the same thing a year ago. But this time it's true. How can I believe you? How can I let you near my children knowing you might have another relapse? Sarah had no answer. She could only cry. Sarah, you need to decide what's more important to you, the gear or your kids, because you can't have both. My kids are more important. Then prove it. Check into a rehab clinic. Get serious treatment. When you can prove you're really clean and won't relapse again, we'll talk about you seeing the children again. Mick, is it this or nothing? Nothing, Sarah. I won't risk the children's emotional stability because of you again. Mick left the boarding house with a heavy heart. He would have to go home and explain to the children that their mother had relapsed and could no longer visit them. When he got home, the children anxiously awaited news. Well, Dad? Is Mum all right? Liam asked. Sit down, kids. I need to talk to you. They all sat in the lounge, sensing from the seriousness in Mick's voice that something was wrong. Your mum had a relapse. She started using gear again. The silence in the lounge was deafening. Is that why she didn't come yesterday? Ethan asked in a small voice. That's why she didn't come yesterday. Liam started crying. Will she get better? I don't know, son. I hope so. And will she be able to visit us again? Chloe asked. Only if she gets proper treatment. If she checks into a clinic and proves she can stay clean. And if she can't? Lachlan asked. Then she won't be able to visit you anymore. I knew it, Lachlan burst out. I knew this would happen. That's why I didn't want you to get attached to her again. Lachlan, calm down. I won't calm down. Look at Liam crying. Look at Ethan being sad. She made them suffer again. Lachlan wasn't wrong. The younger children had reattached to their mother and were now suffering from her relapse. Dad, Liam said between sobs. Mum doesn't love us. The question broke Mick's heart. She does love you, son. In her own way, she loves you. Then why did she do this? Because she's sick, son. Drug addiction is an illness. And sometimes sick people do things that hurt the ones they love. And can she be cured? She can, if she really wants to be cured and tries very hard to achieve it. And if she is cured, will she be able to visit us again? Mick hesitated before answering. Part of him wanted to protect his son from another disappointment, but another part still held hope that Sarah could recover. If she is truly cured, yes. Over the following months, there was no news of Sarah. Mick learned from acquaintances that she had checked into a rehab clinic in the city, but he had no direct contact with her. The children, especially Liam and Ethan, felt their mother's absence greatly, but little by little, they adapted again to the family routine without her. Lachlan, who had been the most resistant to Sarah's return, ironically was the one most worried about her after the relapse. Dad, any news on Mum? No, son. Why? Because despite everything, she's still my mother, and I don't want her to die. She won't die, Lachlan. How do you know? Because she's stronger than she thinks, and because she has you kids to fight for. 6 months after the relapse, Sarah showed up at the family home again. But this time she was different, thinner, but with a clearer, more determined look. Hello, Mick. Hello, Sarah. How are you? Better. Much better. Did you get treatment? I did. I was in a clinic for 4 months. Now, I live in a support house. I attend help groups. I work with social assistants. And how do you feel? Different. For the first time in a long time, I feel in control of my own life. And what do you want here? I want to see my children, just for a few minutes, so they can see I'm doing well. Mick hesitated. Sarah, do you understand I can't trust you like before anymore? I understand. And I'm not asking for trust. I'm just asking for a chance to show my children that their mum is alive and fighting to be well. 5 minutes on the veranda, and I'll be present the whole time. Okay, Mick called the children, who were surprised to see their mother. Mum! Liam and Ethan shouted, running to hug her. My babies, Sarah said, hugging her children with tears in her eyes. How much you've grown. Mum, are you well? Liam asked. Yes, my love. Now I'm really well. And you won't use the gear? No, son, never again. Promise? I promise. But this time it's a different promise. Different how? Because this time I have help from other people to keep the promise. I'm not trying to stop on my own. Lachlan and Chloe approached more cautiously. How can we be sure you won't have another relapse? Chloe asked. You can't be sure, Sarah replied with honesty. I can't be sure myself. Addiction is an illness that stays with a person for the rest of their life. So, I have to fight it every day, and I have to ask for help when I feel like I might relapse. And if you do relapse again? Lachlan asked. If I relapse again, you have every right not to want to see me anymore, and I will understand and accept that decision. Mum, Ethan said, can you come visit us again? Sarah looked at Mick, who shook his head no. No, my love, not yet. Why not? Because Dad needs to be sure that Mum is really well before he allows her to visit you regularly again. And how will he be sure? With time, son, with a lot of time. The 5 minutes passed quickly, and Sarah said goodbye to the children. My children, I love you very much, and I will keep fighting every day to be a better person, even if you decide you don't want to see me anymore. We want to see you, Mum, Liam said. I know, my love, but sometimes wanting isn't enough. Sometimes you need to deserve it. Sarah left the house, leaving the family between hope and unease. Dad, Chloe said later. Mum looked different. In what way? More honest, more real. Before, she promised things she knew she might not be able to keep. Now she was honest about not being able to promise she won't relapse. That's true, she seemed more mature. Do you think we should give her another chance? I don't know, love. I need to think about it a bit more. Dad, Lachlan said. Can I give my opinion? Of course. I think we should give her another chance, but very slowly, like 1 visit a month. And if she manages to keep that up for a whole year, then we'll see about increasing it. Are you sure? You were the one who suffered most from her disappointments. I'm sure. Not for her, but for me. I'm tired of carrying anger in my heart. I want to try to forgive her, even if I know she might disappoint me again. And you others? Mick addressed the other children. I want to try too, Chloe said. I want Mum to visit us, Liam said. Me too, Ethan agreed. Then it's settled, but this time we'll start slow. 1 visit a month from 2 to 4 p.m., always here at our house, and I'll be present the whole time. The following week, Mick contacted Sarah and informed her of the family's decision. 1 visit a month? She asked. It's that or nothing, Sarah. I accept. Anything you give me, I'll accept. And so, the relationship between Sarah and the children began again. 1 visit a month, always under Mick's supervision, always within very clear limits. This time, Sarah truly kept her word. Month after month, she showed up punctually, sober, affectionate with the children, but respecting the established boundaries. After a year of successful monthly visits, the family decided to allow fortnightly visits. After another year, they returned to weekly visits. But one thing had changed permanently. Never again would Liam or Ethan spend weekends with their mother, and never again would Sarah try to move back in with the family. She had understood that her place in her children's lives was different. She would always be their mother, but Mick was the one who truly looked after them. 3 years after the relapse, on a Sunday visit, Sarah made an announcement that surprised everyone. Kids, I have some news for you. What news, Mum? Chloe asked. I'm getting married. The silence on the veranda was total. Marrying who? Lachlan asked. A man I met at the support group. He's also a former addict. He also has kids, and we've been together for 2 years. 2 years? Mick asked. Why didn't you ever mention him before? Because I wanted to be sure the relationship would work before involving you all. And are you sure now? I am. He's a good person. Hector works, doesn't use gear, helps me be a better person. And does he know about us? Liam asked. He knows, my love, and he wants to meet you. Are we going to have to call him stepdad? Ethan asked. No, son. You already have a dad, and a very good dad. Hector will only be Mum's husband. Hector? Chloe asked. Is that his name? Hector Vargas. He's a chippy. He's 45, and he has 2 daughters who live with his ex-wife. Mum, Lachlan said, are you sure you want to marry again? I am, son. This time, it's not out of desperation or need. It's for real love. And if it doesn't work out, we'll separate. But it won't affect you, because you won't be living with us anyway. Where are you going to live? In a small house we're renting, near the support house where I live now. And the visits? Will they stay the same? Liam asked worriedly. They'll stay the same, my love. Once a week, every Sunday. Dad. Chloe turned to Mick. What do you think? I think if your mother has found someone who makes her happy and helps her stay away from the gear, that's a good thing. And you, Sarah? She asked Mick. Don't you think about marrying again? I do. Maybe one day I'll find someone special. I hope you do. You deserve to be happy, Mick. Thank you, Sarah. The following month, Sarah brought Hector to meet the children. He was a friendly, hard-working man who clearly loved Sarah and respected Mick's place in the children's lives. Mick, Hector said the first time they met, I want you to know I have no intention of being a father to these kids. They already have an excellent father. Thanks for making that clear, Hector. And I also want you to know I'll do everything to help Sarah stay clean and be a good mother to them. I hope so. You can count on me for anything. If she has a relapse, if any problem comes up, you can call me. Mick liked Hector from the first meeting. It was obvious he genuinely loved Sarah and had good intentions. Sarah and Hector's wedding was a small ceremony at the support house where they met. The children were invited, but only Liam and Ethan decided to go. Why don't you want to go to Mum's wedding? Mick asked Lachlan and Chloe. Because it's still too soon for us, Chloe replied. We're still learning to trust her again. Seeing her get married is complicated. And you, Lachlan? Same. I don't hold a grudge, but I can't pretend I'm happy for her either. I'm still processing everything that happened. That's all right. You're not obliged to do anything. Sarah's wedding marked a new chapter in the family's story. The visits continued. But now she had Hector by her side, which brought a stability she had never had before. Hector truly kept his promise to help Sarah stay clean. In the 2 years following the wedding, she had no relapses. Gradually, even Lachlan and Chloe began to accept Hector as part of the extended family. He never tried to be their father, but he was always kind, respectful, and clearly dedicated to Sarah. Dad, Lachlan said one day, already 19 and about to start uni. Can I tell you something? Of course, son. I think I've finally managed to forgive Mum. Really. I haven't forgotten what she did, and it still hurts to think about everything we went through, but I don't feel anger towards her anymore. What changed? I think seeing her with Hector made me understand that before, she was truly sick, and now she's trying to be a better person. And how do you feel about forgiving her? Lighter, like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. That's good, son. Dad, can I ask you a personal question? Go ahead. Have you thought about forgiving her completely? Like, being her friend again? I have thought about it, and I think I have already forgiven her. But being friends is different from forgiving. How so? Forgiving is letting go of the resentment you feel towards someone. Being friends is trusting that person, wanting to spend time with them, caring about them. I've forgiven your mum, but I don't know if I could be her friend. Why? Because friendship needs trust, and trust needs time. Maybe in the future, we can be friends, but for now, we're just your parents who can talk civilly. I understand. A year after that conversation, something happened that no one expected. Mick met Beatrice Morrison at a parents' meeting at Ethan's school. Beatrice was a teacher, divorced, mother of 2 teenagers. She was intelligent, affectionate, and had a smile that lit up the place. They started talking about the children, then about work, then about life. Without realizing it, Mick began to look forward to the casual encounters at the school. Dad, Chloe said one day, you're different. Different how? Happier. You sing more. You smile more. Like that. Yeah. Did something good happen? Mick hesitated before answering. He didn't know if it was appropriate to talk to the children about Beatrice yet. Maybe something did happen. What kind of thing? I met a special person. Special person how? Liam asked. Who had just come home from school. A nice woman. Dad got a girlfriend! Ethan shouted, appearing suddenly. She's not exactly a girlfriend yet, Mick laughed. But could she be? Chloe asked. She could. And is she nice? Lachlan asked. Very nice. A teacher, mother of 2 kids, an honest and hard-working person. What's her name? Liam asked. Beatrice Morrison. And when are we going to meet her? Ethan asked excitedly. Easy, boys. It's still too soon for that. We're just getting to know each other. But the children were curious about Beatrice and began asking about her regularly. 3 months after their first meeting, Mick finally asked Beatrice to be his official girlfriend. She accepted, and they began spending more time together. Mick, Beatrice said one day, I think it's time for me to meet your children officially. Are you sure? I am. And they can meet my children too. How do you think they'll react? I don't know. But if we want this relationship to work, they need to accept each other. The following Sunday, Beatrice came to lunch at Mick's house with her 2 children, Finn, 16, and Valerie, 14. The children were shy at first, but Beatrice had a special gift with children. Soon she was chatting animatedly with all of them. Beatrice, Chloe said during lunch, how did you meet my dad? At Ethan's school. We started chatting about you kids and discovered we had a lot in common. Like what? Well, we're both divorced and widowed. We both raised our children practically alone. We both value family, honest work, education. Did you know my dad was in the clink? Lachlan asked directly. I knew, and I also knew he was innocent. And that didn't bother you? Chloe asked. Why would it bother me? He didn't do anything wrong. A lot of people judge those who have been in prison, even if they're innocent. I'm not a lot of people, Beatrice said firmly. I judge people by their character, not by things that have happened to them. Mick felt his heart warm. Beatrice was truly a special person. Beatrice, Liam said, are you going to be our stepmom? Liam, Mick scolded. It's all right, Beatrice said, laughing. It's a fair question, Liam. I don't know if I'll be your stepmom. That's something only time will tell. But I can promise one thing. If I become part of your family, I will love and respect each of you. And will we all have to live together? Ethan asked. Not necessarily. There are many ways to be a family. We can live in separate houses and still be a family. The children seemed to relax with that answer. After lunch, while the children played together in the yard, Beatrice and Mick chatted on the veranda. How do you think it went? Mick asked. I think it went very well. Your kids are polite, affectionate, smart. And your kids, how did they react? They liked you too. Finn told me you seem like a very present dad. And Valerie loved Chloe. That's good. Mick, can I ask you a question? Of course. How do you think your ex-wife will react if she finds out you're dating someone? I don't know. I hope well. She's married herself, so it wouldn't make sense for her to have a problem with it. And the kids, Do you think they'll accept a female figure in their lives after so long? I think so. They need a stable mother figure. Sarah, despite being present, is still complicated. I understand. Well, we'll take it slow, no rush. In the following months, Beatrice and Mick deepened their relationship. She became a constant presence in the house, always respecting the children's space, but offering the maternal affection they needed. Chloe, especially, grew very fond of Beatrice. She finally had a mature, stable female figure to talk to about girl things. Beatrice, Chloe said one day, "Can I tell you a secret?" "Of course, dear. I always wanted to have a mum like you." "How so?" "A mum who is always present, who gives advice, who hugs you when you're sad. My biological mum. She tries, but it's still complicated." "Chloe, your mum loves you. She just had difficulties in life that made her step away for a while." "I know, and I've forgiven her." "But forgiving doesn't mean we can pretend nothing happened." "That's true, and you don't have to pretend anything. You can love your biological mum and at the same time accept affection from other people." "Is that what I'm doing?" "Yes, and there's nothing wrong with that." A year after they started dating, Beatrice and Mick decided to move in together. They bought a larger house, where all the children, both Beatrice's and Mick's, would have their own bedrooms. "Dad," Lachlan said, "already 20 and studying engineering. Can I talk to you about something?" "Of course, son. Are you going to marry Beatrice?" "I plan to." "Why?" "Because if you're going to get married, I think it would be cool to have a ceremony where we, the kids, also officially participate." "How so?" "Like a ceremony where it's not just you and Beatrice getting married, but where we, the kids, also make it official that we're a family." Mick was touched by his son's suggestion. "Do you think your siblings would like that?" "I'm sure. We love Beatrice, and her kids have become our siblings too. And Finn and Valerie, will they like it?" "I already talked to them. They agree. Then let's do it." Mick and Beatrice's wedding was different from any traditional wedding. In addition to the couple's vows, each of the children also made a vow to accept the new family. Lachlan, as the eldest, spoke for everyone. "Beatrice, we accept you as our mum of the heart. Mick, we accept Finn and Valerie as our siblings, and we promise to look after each other as a real family." There wasn't a dry eye at the ceremony. The Sunday following the wedding, Sarah made her usual weekly visit. It was the first time she saw Mick married to someone else. "Hello, Mick. Congratulations on your marriage." "Thanks, Sarah. Beatrice seems like a wonderful person." "She is a special person." "And the children, how did they react?" "Very well. They adore Beatrice." Sarah was silent for a few moments, watching the children play with Beatrice in the yard. "Mick, can I tell you something?" "Go ahead." "I'm happy you found someone, and I'm happy my children have a stable mother figure." "Thanks for saying that. I know I could never be the mom they deserved, but at least now they have one. Sarah, you'll always be their biological mother. No one can take that away from you." "I know, but Beatrice will be the mom for the day-to-day, the mom who is present when they need her, and I'm at peace with that. Seriously, seriously. My children deserve the best, and if the best for them is to have Beatrice as their mum of the heart, then I support it." Just then, Liam came running towards them. "Mum Sarah, come meet my mum Beatrice." The way Liam referred to the two women, Mum Sarah and Mum Beatrice, touched the hearts of all the adults present. Beatrice approached and greeted Sarah cordially. "Nice to meet you in person, Sarah. The children talk about you a lot." "I imagine not only good things," Sarah said with a sad smile. "They talk about a mother they love, who went through difficulties but never stopped trying to be better. Thank you for looking after them. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of their lives." That Sunday, for the first time in many years, all the important adults in the children's lives were present and in harmony. Mick, Beatrice, Sarah, and Hector. A family that was anything but conventional, but a family nonetheless. 5 years after Mick and Beatrice's wedding, the family had completely stabilized. Lachlan had graduated from engineering and found a good job. Chloe was studying nursing. Liam and Ethan, now teenagers, were exemplary students and outstanding athletes at school. Finn, Beatrice's son, had become like an older brother to Mick's children. Valerie, now a 19-year-old young woman, had developed a special relationship with Chloe, who had always dreamed of having a sister. Sarah continued her weekly visits, now accompanied by Hector, who had become a respected father figure to the children. He never tried to replace Mick, but offered a different and complementary male perspective. "Dad," Liam said one day, already 16, "can I ask you a question?" "Of course, son. Do you regret anything in life?" The question caught Mick by surprise. "Why are you asking that?" Because we had a discussion at school about regrets, and I started thinking you spent 8 years unjustly locked up. Mum abandoned us. We went through a lot of hardship. Don't you regret anything? Mick thought carefully before answering. You know, Liam, I regret not fighting harder to prove my innocence sooner. I regret that you were alone for so long. I regret not realizing your mum had problems before it got to the point where she abandoned you. And that's all. Only that. Because everything that happened, even though it was hard, brought us to where we are today. If I hadn't been unjustly locked up, maybe I would never have discovered how strong and brave you are. If your mum hadn't walked out of our lives, maybe I would never have met Beatrice. If you hadn't learned to look after each other, maybe you would never have become the incredible people you are today. So, do you think it was worth it? I don't think it was worth it for you to suffer. I will never believe that was worth it. But I believe we managed to transform the suffering into something positive. How so? You learned that you are capable of overcoming any difficulty. You learned to value family, honest work, the people who truly care about you. You learned to forgive, even when it's hard. Those are lessons that will serve you for the rest of your life. And Mum, Sarah, do you think she learned anything? I think so. She learned that addiction is an illness that needs to be treated every day. She learned that true love sometimes means letting go of what you want to do what's best for the other person. And she learned that it's never too late to try to be a better person. And Mum Beatrice, what did she learn? That family isn't just blood. It's about love, commitment, being present. She learned that she can love you as if you were her biological children, and that you can love her the same way. That night, during the family dinner, Liam shared his conversation with his father. So, Chloe said, what's the conclusion of all this? The conclusion, Mick replied, is that we went through a lot of tough stuff, but we came out stronger on the other side. And that we learned that family is the one that's present, Lachlan added. And that forgiving doesn't mean forgetting, but choosing not to let the past destroy the future, Chloe said. And that even when things seem impossible, there's always a way to get through it, Beatrice concluded. I just want to say one thing, Ethan, the youngest, said. I love this crazy family we've become. Everyone laughed and agreed. It really was a crazy family, but it was their family. The following Sunday, during Sarah and Hector's weekly visit, something special happened. Valerie, Beatrice's daughter, announced her engagement. Guys, she said during lunch, I have some news for you. What news? Beatrice asked. I'm getting married. The table erupted in shouts of joy and congratulations. To who? Chloe asked excitedly. To Edward, that guy you met last year? The doctor? Mick asked. The same one. And when's the wedding? Sarah asked. In 6 months. And I want all of you to be there. Our whole crazy family. All of us? Sarah asked, surprised. All of you. You're part of my family now. I can't imagine my wedding without you present. Sarah was visibly moved. After everything she had been through, being considered family by her stepsister was more than she had ever dared to dream. Valerie, are you sure it won't be awkward? She asked. Why would it be awkward? You're the kids' Nana, Sarah, and Pop Hector. Hector is like an uncle to all of us. Why would it be awkward? Nana and Pop? Hector asked, laughing. Yeah, you're old enough to be grandparents, and the youngest kids treat you like grandparents. I'll have kids soon too, and they'll need grandparents. The idea of being considered a grandfather left Hector visibly emotional. He had never had grandchildren since his daughters hadn't married yet. It would be an honor to be a pop to your kids, he said. And me too? Sarah asked timidly. Of course, Nana Sarah, Valerie confirmed. That afternoon, after Sarah and Hector left, the family stayed talking about Valerie's wedding. Dad, Chloe said, did you notice how Mum Sarah got emotional when Valerie called her Nana Sarah? Yeah, I noticed. I think she never imagined she would be accepted like that by our family one day. Probably not. Dad, can I say something? Lachlan said. Of course. I think we did the right thing by giving her multiple chances, even though she disappointed us several times. Why? Because look at the result. Now we have a huge family. Dad, Mum Beatrice, Mum Sarah, Uncle Hector, siblings Finn and Valerie, plus all of us. That's a lot of love in one family. That's true, Beatrice agreed. When I met you, I never imagined our family would become so big and so united. Mum Beatrice, Liam said. Can I ask you a question? Of course, darling. Did you ever feel jealous of Mum Sarah? The question was direct and caught Beatrice by surprise. At first, yes, she answered honestly. Not jealous in the sense of competition, but insecure about what my place in your lives would be. And now? Now, no. Because I understood that love doesn't decrease when it's divided. Love multiplies. You can love Mum Sarah and love me too without that diminishing your love for either of us. And Mum Sarah? Ethan asked. Does she feel jealous of you? She used to, Mick replied. But now I think she understands that you need her just as much as Beatrice. She can't give you what Beatrice gives you, and Beatrice can't give you what she gives you. What does Mum Sarah give us that Mum Beatrice doesn't give? Liam asked curiously. The biological connection, Chloe replied. The feeling of belonging to someone from birth, the history of where we come from. And what does Mum Beatrice give us that Mum Sarah doesn't? Ethan asked. Stability, Lachlan replied. The certainty that she will always be present when we need her. The lap that is always available. So, we need both of them? Liam asked. We need both of them, everyone agreed. 6 months later, Valerie's wedding was truly a memorable family event. Everyone was present. Mick and Beatrice, Sarah and Hector, all the sons and daughters, and even some close friends who had become family over the years. During the ceremony, when it was time for the family members to speak, Valerie made a point of mentioning each one. I want to thank my mum Beatrice, who raised me with so much love and taught me to be strong. To Mick, who became a second father to me and showed me what a real man is. To Sarah, who taught me it's never too late to start over and be a better person. To Hector, who showed me that kindness and strength can go together. And to all my step-siblings, who taught me that family is much more than blood. During the reception, Mick and Sarah found themselves talking alone for the first time in years. Mick, she said, can I tell you something? Of course, thank you. For what? For giving me so many chances. For not giving up on me when I gave up on myself. For allowing me to continue being a part of our children's lives. Sarah, you are their mother. You'll always be. But you could have cut off my contact with them after the relapse. You could have said I didn't deserve any more chances. I could have, but it wouldn't have been fair to them. How so? The children needed to understand for themselves who you really are. If I had cut off your contact, they would always wonder how you were, if you had changed. This way, they could see your evolution with their own eyes. And now, how do you see me? Mick thought carefully before answering. Now I see a person who made serious mistakes but fought hard to redeem herself. A person who learned to put the children's well-being above her own desires. A person who deserves respect for her fight against addiction and forgiveness. Have you forgiven me? I forgave you a long time ago, Sarah. And friendship. Do you think we can be friends someday? Mick looked around the party, seeing all the people he loved gathered and happy. I think we're already friends, Sarah. Maybe not in the traditional way, but we are people who respect each other, who care about each other, who work together for the good of our children. If that's not friendship, I don't know what is. Sarah smiled with tears in her eyes. Thank you for that too. You're welcome. Just then, Liam approached them. Dad, Mum Sarah, are you coming to dance with us? Beatrice is calling everyone to the floor. Mick and Sarah looked at each other and laughed. Let's go, Mick said. Let's go, Sarah agreed. And so, the two who were once husband and wife, who went through so much suffering and misunderstanding, who separated so painfully, walked side by side toward the dance floor, where they joined their crazy, wonderful family. On the floor, everyone danced together, Mick with Beatrice, Sarah with Hector. The children all mixed up, some close friends. It was a celebration not just of Valerie's wedding, but of the entire journey that had brought them there. Dad, Lachlan shouted over the music. Remember when you got home and found us in that terrible situation? I remember, Mick shouted back. Who would have thought it would all turn out well in the end? It turned out better than well, Beatrice shouted. It turned into something beautiful. A crazy family, Ethan shouted. The best crazy family in the world, Chloe completed. And it was true. After so much suffering, so much struggle, so many obstacles, they had built something beautiful, a family that didn't follow any traditional standard, but was based on love, respect, forgiveness, and the determination to always fight for each other. Mick looked around the dance floor and felt immense gratitude. He had lost 8 years of his life unjustly. He had found his children in a desperate situation. He had faced obstacles that seemed insurmountable, but he had persevered, he had fought, he had forgiven, and he had allowed others to redeem themselves too. The result was right there in front of him. 4 children who had become responsible and loving adults, a wife who loved him and completed his family, an ex-wife who had redeemed herself and found her place in the family's life, stepkids who accepted him as a father, and a network of love and support that extended far beyond blood ties. It hadn't been easy. It had been the hardest thing he had ever faced in life, but it had been worth it. As he danced with his crazy family, Mick thought about the words he had said to Liam months ago. We managed to transform the suffering into something positive, and that's exactly what they had done. They had taken a terrible situation, and with a lot of love, work, and persistence, they had built something beautiful. The music changed to a slower ballad, and couples formed on the floor. Mick danced with Beatrice, Sarah danced with Hector, and the children danced with each other. Beatrice, Mick said as they danced. Thank you. For what? For completing our family, for giving the children what they needed, for making me happy again. Thank you, she replied, for letting me be part of this incredible family, for giving me the chance to be a mum of the heart to your children, for showing me that love can grow even after so much suffering. Do you think we can keep all this going? He asked. This harmony, this unity. I think so, because we learned that family is a choice you make every day, and all of us here choose every day to be family to each other. The music ended, and everyone embraced in the middle of the dance floor. A giant collective hug that included all the important people in the life of that crazy family. Group! Valerie the bride shouted. I want you to know that this is the happiest day of my life. Not just because I married the man I love, but because I could share this moment with the most incredible family in the world. Crazy family! Everyone shouted in unison, laughing. The best crazy family, Lachlan added. And so, between laughter, tears of joy, and a lot of love, that unconventional family celebrated not just a wedding, but the entire journey that had brought them there. A journey that began with suffering, passed through desperation, went through moments of doubt and distrust, but ended with love, forgiveness, redemption, and a union that was stronger than any blood tie. It was proof that sometimes the most beautiful families are the ones you build with conscious choices, genuine forgiveness, and a lot of love. And if anyone asked any member of that crazy family if they would change anything they had lived through, the answer would be unanimous. No. Because it was exactly that difficult and painful journey that led them to discover how much they were capable of loving, forgiving, and rebuilding. And that was more precious than any perfect life they could have imagined. End of the story. Now tell us what you thought of this story of overcoming and forgiveness. Do you think it's possible to rebuild a family after so much suffering? And what do you think about second chances? Leave your opinion in the comments. We love to know what you think. Don't forget to like this video if the story moved you, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other emotional stories like this one. Your participation is very important to us.